Hi guys, happy Wednesday. Meredith here. I am coming to you live talking about a message from your healthy voice on fear. And the 5 things we're going to talk about that it makes us do and how we can address it. The first thing I want to tell you is a story. This morning I was out on my porch and we have a screened porch that has a door that isn't really there. So oftentimes when birds come to the feeder, they run into the porch. And this morning I found one that was sitting on the chair where I often sit and write. And it was a mama robin or cardinal. And I went outside, I let her sit there, and then I went outside and I just kind of guided her out. I kind of do this and I'm like, come on, come on. And I start singing to the birds. And whenever I see a bird or a butterfly stuck in our porch, it's kind of a reminder to me of our fears and how we can get stuck in our fears. And sometimes the birds will kind of flitter back and forth between the screens. And then I'm like, come on, come on. And finally they go through. And it's just kind of a metaphor for how we can have these fears, but we got to find our way through them and out of them. And someone can guide us, God's going to guide us, but we got to walk through them. So we all have fears. Who doesn't? I don't know anybody that doesn't. Marie Curie said this: "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." And it kind of made me think of the St. Francis prayer where it says, "Grant that I may not so much seek to be understood, but to understand." And I really want to get us to help us understand our fears today. And I caught this right before I came on as a reminder. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." So it's like when we know God, He gives us understanding. So we're going to see how He kind of shows up in our fears to help us. So we can either feed a fear, starve a fear, and I'm going to talk about calling out our fears. And before I talk about those 5 fears, I want to tell you 2 things. Fear is a feeling. In recovery, we say, F everything and run, or face everything and recover. And I think it applies to so much of our lives. So, first thing is hide. Second thing is isolate. Third thing is run. Fourth thing is stuff down. And fifth thing is numb. So they all are they're all very similar, but I just want to touch on each of them in a way so you can kind of see where you might be with your feelings. So the first one, hide. I think we have the perfect metaphor for hiding today, and it is called, you guessed it, Facebook. Because what do? We hide behind the news feed on Facebook, thinking that other people have lives and we don't, and that's a whole other post. But so that's one way we hide. One way we isolate. A lot of people kind of see this as a physical thing, kind of tied to even maybe depression. But sometimes we can isolate, I think, in our minds and our feelings, because we can start to think, well, nobody gets this. Nobody's been through what I've been through. Nobody's going through what I'm going through. And what I have found in every difficult journey I have been on, it has helped me to find people that have been there. It doesn't help us to compare ourselves or go, I need that. It helps us to pray that God shows us who the people are that are going through it too, so we can gain confidence. I find that I gain confidence when I find people going through something too. And I'm going to share something that I'm going through right now in next week or the following week, and you'll start to see what I'm saying. Run is also physical. I was a big runner. I ran from everything. Running was my escape to everything. I no longer run like that. Also because my knees can't take it. But I think we run from our fears, our failures, our past, our feelings. There's so many things we run from. And it kind of brings me to the next one, stuff down. We can easily stuff down our feelings. We kind of make a joke in society now that people binge on Netflix, and I kind of hate that because I think binging is a very serious thing and a lot of people struggle with it, but I think we can tend to stuff down our feelings with food or alcohol or any other substance. We can just stuff things down and we don't even realize we're doing it. And that's where a lot of addictions begin to occur, because we're stuffing things down. And we think we're stuffing down a substance, but what we're really doing is stuffing down feelings. And the last one is numb. Wow. Numbing is just like the stuffing down. We take things that we think are going to help us escape something, and what it really does is kind of make us not feel. But the problem is, as many of you know, the feelings, oops, they don't go anywhere. So eventually you kind of have to deal with them, and I get that because I had to do it. So here's what I want you to do. I'm not going to make your fears go away. I'm not going to fix your fears. But what I can do is help you to be mindful. Try to be mindful if you're doing any of these things. And what a perfect time than Halloween week to bring that up. Because many of us are going to have baskets of candy by our front door, or we're going to be having in our kitchen afraid that we're going to have one or more than one. And what we're doing is we're like putting fear into this candy, fear into the food. It's like, wait a minute. Where is your fear really coming from? Is your fear really of that, or is your fear really something else and you're giving all that power to that candy? I thankfully don't have all my kids in the house now, so the candy isn't around, which is going to be fabulous. But there has been a time where it has been a definite struggle. But here's one of the things, that candy, it doesn't really do anything. I don't care how good it is. I don't care what your favorite one is. You know that I don't care if it's 5 or 20, it's really not going to satisfy your deepest hunger. So a thing I want to quote I thought about was, I think when we give all our power to the fear, we forget God is near. So if you find yourself doing this, am I feeling or am I fearing? What am I feeling? What am I fearing? Name it. Put it down on paper. Talk to somebody about it. Don't stay in you. And give yourself some grace. I think we so much forget that God wants to give us grace. We think that God is going, you're doing this wrong, I'm punishing you, and God's going, I love you, you don't have to do that, I want you to let me help you. Like, we just have that so mixed up, and it's something that I think we need to remember. Let God give you grace and mercy, because He knows what you do every second of the day, and He just wants to free you from, that fear. So, and I think we have to understand that when we're thinking God's punishing us, that I think oftentimes God is revealing pain to us so He can heal that pain, which I think so many of us miss. So, when you're facing the candy this week, and if you struggle with it, just kind of remember, like, okay, there's something I'm fearing, there's something I'm running from that, makes me want to pick this up, more than one. So what fear are you walking through that you need to reach out to God for help? Frederick Buechner, I don't know how to pronounce his name, said this: faith is stepping into the unknown with nothing to guide us but a hand just beyond our grasp. And guess what? Scripture backs it right up. Isaiah 41, verses 10 and 13. 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. 13. For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you. Psalm 56:3. This is something that I think we can almost echo in our minds. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. When I'm afraid, I put my trust in you. And there was one I skipped. Isaiah 43, 1 to 3. And it's important because my favorite word is through. And I think we often, when we're fighting the fear and we're focusing on the fear, we're not letting God walk through it with us and guide us. This is what I love about this 43. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. So the last thing I'm going to tell you is I think we worry a lot. I know, moms, anybody, we all worry. And I think it's just not helpful. So I'm just going to remind you, I don't know what you guys have coming up in the next week. I don't know who needs this. I know I need it with something I have coming up, and I think we probably could all use it with the election coming up, because I think we're all a little worried. But if you trust God, you really don't have to worry, because He's in charge, FYI. Matthew Chapter 6, verse 34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Don't fear what you have coming down the road. Get your butt in today, because God gives us grace for every day. And be present in the day that you're in, because God's going to take care of you when you get to whatever you're worrying about. All right, guys, I'm going to dive into a couple more of those fears next week and the following week, kind of talk a little bit about the election, but not all the drama around it, so don't get all excited, except all you debaters. And I'm also going to talk about a surgery that I have to go through, but I'm going to talk about it because I think awareness needs to be raised for it. So I will see you guys next week, and I hope you have an awesome Halloween, and all your kiddos look adorable, and it's beautiful fall weather where you are. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.